A number of celebrities have chimed in on Caitlyn Jenner and her new appearance. However, not all of them are as supportive as you would think. In fact, one of those celebrities, Cruz, who is the adopted son of Tom Cruise, thinks that it's absolutely ridiculous that Caitlyn Jenner is going to win an EPSI award known as the Arthur Ashe Courage Award. Now, there's Cruz right there, and apparently he went on a rant on Twitter about the EPSI award going to Caitlyn Jenner. Here's what he had to say. Really? Winning the Arthur Ashe Award for Courage? Ashton is going to come out and yell punked, right? Referring to the punk show on MTV. He then says, don't get me wrong, do what you feel like doing and don't let anyone stop you, but everyone is taking this way too seriously. There are so many more important things that should be talked about, and so many more important people that actually deserve the award. Like the fact that we are overfishing and in 30 years there will be no more fish seems dumb, but 85% of the world's protein is fish. So he wants to give the award to fish. Okay, so before he goes into the stuff that he finds important, let me just say one thing, okay? Number one, it is possible to focus on multiple different issues in the world at the same time, okay? We are not that bad with multitasking that if we talk about Caitlyn Jenner, which in my opinion is a very important story, we're not going to be able to focus on anything else. All of our attention is going to be on Caitlyn Jenner. Here's the reality, okay? The transgender community is going through so many terrible things in society right now. First of all, if you just look at something like, I don't know, the suicide rate or the attempted suicide rate, it's astronomical among the transgender community because of the discrimination that they face. And so when you consider the fact that 41% of members of the transgender community attempt suicide, something like this is very important to bring up. The fact that a huge public figure like Bruce Jenner identifies as Caitlyn Jenner is a big deal.
You don't think it took courage for a guy who's really well known in the public to
as
say,
an athlete?
Yeah, and to come out and say, and who was married, you know, and had a TV show where everybody sees him married and he's got all these kids, to come out and say, I'm a woman, and then transform his body into, you don't think that took courage? I find that stunning, right? And he's like, but what about the tuna? What? Okay, that was random. But here's what I found really ridiculous. Who's Cruz?
Okay. So I read about all this and I was like, oh, this is outrageous. And then I realized he's 20 years old. So you kind of have to take this with a grain of salt because at 20, people say dumb things all the time. And look, to be fair to him, he didn't say that he's against Caitlyn Jenner, but he thinks that the award should go to other people. So let me give you some examples. He also says, what about the fact that the planet is becoming less habitable on a daily basis, yet the population is increasing at an alarming rate? Or the fact that we can't even get along on Earth, LOL. We fight and kill each other. We have war and poverty. This needs to change. So I don't know who he thinks should win the award, but look, I agree with him. There are serious issues in the country that we talk about on the show on a regular basis, not just the country, the world. But again, at the same time, the transgender community does need awareness, and that's what you also should talk about.
We're having a conversation about this kid because his last name is Cruz.
Yeah.
Who the fuck is Cruz? What's absurd is that we pay attention to people because of their dads.
Yeah.
Cruz has done, again, nothing against the kid, and most 20-year-olds haven't done anything, but he's done nothing with his life.
Yep.
He's just a really famous person's son, so we're worried about what he thinks about the fucking oceans? Okay, all right, look, I agree with the rest of his philosophy. I'm a little worried, and I'm not overly worried about overpopulation. People disagree with me on that, blah, blah, blah. Why am I having a conversation with Cruz? Okay. Right? And he's like, oh, we should be worried about war and poverty, LOL.
LOL, I know. Nothing takes away from the credibility of your argument than LOL.
Yeah, and we should be giving this award to someone who is obsessed with the oceans, like SpongeBob SquarePants. And the guy's got courage, he's squared, he still has pants.
All right, well, there is one other big public figure who had something pretty negative to say about Caitlyn Jenner, and that was Snoop Dogg. So recently, Snoop Dogg posted a picture of Akon on his Instagram page, and he had some commentary of his own. Here's what he had to say. Shout out to Akon. He's about to supply 60 million Africans with solar power. I'm really upset that this isn't major news, but that science project Bruce Jenner is, #society. That's a really depressing thing to hear from Snoop Dogg because I generally like him. And so to refer to someone who is going through something so difficult as a science project is really sick and ignorant.
Okay, so look, a lot of us grew up, and I think Snoop Dogg's around my age, in less tolerant times. When we were growing up, I mean, people would say terrible things about gay people. I mean, if you transgender, we'd be like, whoa, that would have blown our minds. We would have made a million jokes. They would have been stupid, outrageous, offensive, etc. Now, Snoop's a grown-ass man, and he should know better, but he's from the old school, and sometimes I got some catching up to do, right? But he should hurry up and catch up. Like everybody agrees, getting 600 million people solar power in Africa, that's great for Akon. It's got nothing to do with Caitlyn Jenner. You don't have to throw her under a bus for no reason.
And also, I should correct him a little bit. I mean, he's a big supporter of what Akon's doing, so he should be accurate about what Akon's doing. He's not supplying 600 million Africans with solar power.
I was just about to ask about
That's literally impossible right now.
Yeah, I was going to say, really, Akon's a lot more powerful than I realized.
Yeah, I mean, he'd have to be the richest man in the world in order to do that. Of course, that's very expensive. But what he is doing is he has launched an organization that is going to Africa, working with the engineers there, and teaching them how to install and maintain solar-powered electricity.
Which is great.
Which is amazing, right? And I'm glad that Snoop Dogg brought this up and raised my awareness about it, because now I know exactly what's happening, and I think it's an interesting story. But nonetheless, don't refer to someone in the transgender community as a science project. That's sick.
Yeah, and when Akon was asked about this whole controversy, he said, blame me, even though you know the blame's on you.
Are those lyrics that I don't know about, but you do?
Please. That's how I roll, man.
Well.
I roll deep.